Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going over my cheat sheet for tomorrow night's race at Kentucky. Yes, I said tomorrow night, so make sure you don't miss out on making lineups. It is not a usual Sunday race. We have another Saturday night race, so make sure you get your lineups in on time. But anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16. And if you want access to this cheat sheet, a Slack chat where you can ask me questions all day, projections, my target sheet, example lineup, GBP driver exposures, last year's winning lineup, and all that good stuff, and my article I write up every single week. You can click on the link in the description below, and it'll take you to my Patreon, where we have over 55 members, I believe now. So keep on growing, which is awesome, and it's going to take you right to this website link or whatever, and you can have access. You can pick if you want access to the UFC sheet, PGA sheet, NASCAR sheet, which is what I would assume you guys would be interested in, considering it's a NASCAR video. And we have NFL when that starts. Obviously, do not join that yet, because you're just going to waste your money, because that doesn't start till September. MLB sheet, which is really what I put a lot of time in, MLB sheet, and NASCAR and UFC a bundle, because apparently you can't sign up for multiple things on Patreon. I don't believe so. So I did make a bundle for that, and you could save $1. So I did that. And then if you want all access for $20, you get access to everything I do, all the articles I do, everything, and all my sheets, and all the Slack chats as well, which has been pretty popular, because I mean, if you look at all these prices, I think it's a pretty good value for $20. But anyway, let's get back into the cheat sheet. That's enough plugging in commercial time. Let's get into it. So let's go over a little preview of this race. It's the Quaker State 400, and we are going to be at Kentucky Speedway. It's a 1.5 mile track, so basically you're just cookie cutter track, although it was repaved recently. 267 laps, and a number of Dominator points available, around 200, and it's going to be on Saturday at 7:30, so that's tomorrow night. Some strategy and tips for this track. We want the track history since the repavement, which I do have here. Long run speed in practice, and we want 1 to 2 Dominators per lineup. So it's a lot different than last week where I said stack all the scrubs. We don't want to do that this week. And so very, very, very important. So if you forget everything I say in this video, please remember this part. This is an impound race. So with this being an impound race, the qualifying order is not set yet. An inspection will be at 1:30 tomorrow and should take about 2 hours, give or take. And if they do fail inspection, they will get sent to the back and be scored from their new starting spot. So that makes them an awesome play. So for example, I don't want to play Suarez on the pole this week just because I want to play the big dogs right behind him, because I don't think he can hang that much. So, but if he would happen to fail inspection, he's going to start in the 30s, and obviously I am extremely interested in, would probably be one of my top plays and highest owned drivers. So I will update the model and projections when inspection is complete. And last impound race, I believe only one car failed, which was Matt Tifft and maybe someone else, but it wasn't important. And the other time, it was like over 10 cars, and every single thing changed on my sheet. So just be on the lookout for that. I definitely have all the updates in Patreon. That'd be first priority, and then YouTube would be my second priority if I have time. But Patreon is first priority, so I'll get all of that updated for all of you who are on there. Anyway, let's get into some of my favorite plays. I want to talk about the Dominators first off, and I want to talk about Martin Truex first, because he is my number one Dominator of the week. Well, him and Keselowski are pretty much 1A and 1B for me. But let's talk about Truex first. He's starting 8th, which is surprising. Usually he qualifies pretty bad. But he's pretty much my favorite play of the week, him and Keselowski. He's just been awesome here the past 2 races at Kentucky. At practice, he didn't run any 10 laps, but I've learned this year not to just look at Truex's practice numbers, because they don't mean anything, apparently, because when he has bad practices, he still dominates. Even when he has good practices, sometimes he doesn't even do good. So, but I'm just trusting his dominance at 1.5 mile tracks. And this year, his practice numbers haven't really lined up as much. So if we just look at the past couple races here, I do have the past 2 races, the past 2 races, I think, yeah. Wasn't too big of a sample size here from Kentucky, the recent races from the website I use. But he has has 2 races here, average driver rating of 149. Obviously, 2 wins, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, because he won. And leading everyone in laps at 326. So he has been absolutely amazing here. So he's pretty much my top Dominator play. I absolutely love him this week. And we do get a little bit of place differential starting 8th as well. And the next thing I want to talk about is Brad Keselowski. Every time we're at Kentucky, he's a contender here. and he actually had a pretty good practice, third in the 10 lap in P1. Then in practice 2, he was fourth, and he actually had the fastest single lap, which I really don't care about, but he has a fast car. So I do like Brad Keselowski a lot. If you look at his recent numbers, I had to fix the average finish a little bit because he does have a DNF here, so it really ruined his average finish, which isn't fair to him because of how good of a driver he is. So it's at about 7 if you could do 1.5 mile tracks, and then his recent history at Kentucky. So if I average that up, so I do like Brad Keselowski a lot here. 100 driver rating. Also, don't forget about the DNF, so all that would be bumped up. So I do like Brad Keselowski a lot. And starting third, the guys in front of him are Daniel Suarez and Eric Almirola, and he is a much better driver than both of those guys. No disrespect to Almirola, but he should be able to get up front fast, and I believe he could lead the earlier portion of this race, and then Truex could come in later, which I think is the most likely scenario. So I do like Keselowski and Truex, and I did try to make a lineup with both of those guys, and it is possible. So it would be a pretty interesting combo to do. And then obviously, if any of those two guys fall to the back, they obviously are must plays. And then another guy I want to talk about is Kyle Busch, just because you can never leave Kyle Busch off your Dominator list, which I know may be cheating, but yeah, I make the rules here. So starting 10th, he does have offer as place differential upside. He's the most expensive driver, which I don't like, so I am probably going to be a little bit underweight on him, especially with how much I like Truex and Keselowski. But I do think it would be smart to have a little bit of ownership on him. But he was fast in practice, not the first 10 lap wasn't too good in the first practice, but I tend to look at more the second practice, which he was second in the 10 lap, so it is a pretty good car. And like I said, gives us some place differential upside. He has an average finish of 4.5 here, average driver rating of 120.8, which I believe is second out of all these drivers. So I do think he's a pretty good play. I just prefer Truex and Keselowski a little bit more. And then next guy I want to talk about is Joey Logano, starting 11th. Average finish of 9th here, starting 11th, but he's like the fourth guy out, but I would want to get a little bit of exposure to him just because how good he has been at 1.5 mile tracks this season. He's been very good. And I mean, we had decent practice, 8th in the 10 lap, which is faster than where he qualified. I don't think he's as likely to lead laps as Truex, Busch, or Keselowski, but he is on my short list of dominators. And if we go to the place differential guys, obviously this can change with inspection, but Chase Elliott, I just have him listed here just because he's starting 20th. I'm probably not going to have too much ownership on him because of how expensive he is, and I want the dominators instead. So I just listed him here because obviously he plays differential play, but someone I'm probably going to be underweight on. And Kyle Larson, the same way. He's 9,500, starting 19th. I just would much rather spend up on the other guys, but I do think they are going to move up. And Kyle Larson has been pretty good at Kentucky, and he had a pretty fast car in practice, second in the 10 lap in the first practice. Second practice, not so much at 13th, but that's higher than where he qualified. And if we look at his recent history here, he has an average finish of 5.5 and a driver rating of 101. So I do think he's a good play. And I also didn't really talk about that with Elliott, but average finish of 8, 93 driver rating. So do think they're both in play. And then Kurt Busch, I was interested in him, but starting 4th, just not going to do that. Just I don't think there's much upside here, and he's probably going to move back unless he has a really good race. And then Denny Hamlin and Eric Jones, they're both qualified too low for where they usually finish. Denny Hamlin had a really good practice, so with him qualifying 18th, he was first in the 10 lap in practice 1, and then 5th in the 10 lap in practice 2. So he has a pretty good car, and he hasn't been bad here. Average finish of 10, which I mean obviously isn't the best, especially if you're 9,100, but he should be able to move up, and he could always top 8, which I think would, he'd pay off his salary then, and a average driver rating of 86, so that's not bad. But I do prefer Eric Jones with a 200 salary less, starting 21st. Decent practice for him. He was 10th in the 10 lap in practice 2. First practice wasn't as good for him, but he does have an average finish of 6.5 here, which is very, very nice, and an average driver rating of 100. So Eric Jones is firmly in play. Hopefully not too many guys in the top end up failing inspection, which decreases his place differential value. But maybe he's one of the guys that goes back. So, but I do like Eric Jones a lot this week. I think he's a very good play. Then Alex Bowman, speed really wasn't there in practice, but he was in the first practice, but in the second practice he was 21st in the 10 lap, which isn't very good, and he has an average finish of 16 and average driver rating of 78, which isn't the best, but with how good he's been this season, I think he's just taking another step forward. So I am banking on that recent form there. Starting 22nd, he has top 10 capabilities, and we've seen him lead laps this season. He just recently won a race, so I do think Alex Bowman is in play at 22nd. And Ryan Blaney is a guy I really like this week. It's 8,300. He's too cheap. I feel like I haven't been on him in a while, but I think it's time to get back on the train. Starting 15th, he didn't run any 10 laps in practice, but the single lap was fast. But not something I really use. But what I do like here is he's very, very good at Kentucky. He has an average fitness of 6 here, a driver rating of 104, which, as you can see, back in this price range, it's a lot better than the guys around him. So I do like him a lot. And he does have a top 5 here, 2 top 10s in the past 2 races, and obviously 2 top 20s. So I do like Ryan Blaney a lot. Someone I'm going to be overweight on, especially at that price. And another place difference guy is Chris Buescher, starting 26. He's just too good of a driver to be too good of a driver not to move up from 26. He's a little expensive, 7,300 for him, but I would imagine he's going to top 20, and he's a pretty good price for him. Well, moving around too much here. If I can find him. Again, in practice 1, he was 10th in the 10 lap, and then 19th in the 10 lap, which is amazing. But starting 26, he's going to move up, and I do think he's a pretty safe play. Then for some of the cheap guys, I like Ryan Preece, David Reagan, Bubba Wallace, and Matt Tifft. Bubba Wallace probably be my favorite guy, starting 28th. He's only 5,500, and he had a pretty good practice. 11th in the 10 lap in practice 1, 17th in the 10 lap in practice 2, and his average finish here is 19, which is not bad at all. So if he can get a top 20 at 5,500, and then we're going to be able to spend up on 2 big guys in 10K or above, it's going to make your lineups really good. So I'm liking Bubba Wallace a lot. And then the other guys I'm not going to really touch on too much. They're just really cheap guys that can move up. Ryan Preece starting 30 is very interesting, and Matt Tifft at 31, starting 31st. Someone I've been playing a lot this season. So I do like those guys. And then my fades are going to be Daniel Suarez starting on the pole. I just think Keselowski and Truex are going to get him fast, and I know he was fast in practice. I know he had the fastest 10 lap, and he obviously had the fastest single lap during qualifying. That's what got him there. But I'm just going to side with his average finish of being 16 here, and he could maybe lead, first 10 laps, but I do think Keselowski's going to get him quick. Then Almirola just starting second. He's only going to move down, in my opinion. His average finish of 8 here is good, but starting second, he's just going to move down. So don't have too much interest there. And he's 8,200. I'm not paying 8,200 for a guy that's just going to fall back. And then Daniel Hemrick starting 6th. It's not going to happen. I'm not playing Daniel Hemrick starting 6th. But I feel like he'll probably top 10 now because I said that. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for the video. If you want a lot more extra content, that's going to be on Patreon. It's going to have my article breakdown, projections, all that good stuff. I'm not going to repeat it again. But I wish you guys the best of luck. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate that. If you're going to play UFC content is out. So I will see you guys tomorrow. If there's any updates, I will try to post a video, but Patreon's going to be first priority. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for baseball.